I folded the organza into 4 equal parts, as you can see. Then I measured about 25 inches across from top to floor length, as you can also see me doing. You can see I'm still doing that, making sure I get the measurement. Alright, so I went ahead to connect the lines so that it will become a straight line also from top to bottom. Okay, as you can see me doing. I would later use the fabric, not the organza. You can see the fabric on the floor. I would later use the fabric to add to the sides to make sure it's as wide as I want it to be. Alright, then I went to the lower part, as you can see, and I measured 2 inches at the side, not at the center. From the side that is not folded, I measured 2 inches. Okay, and then I connected it to end somewhere before the midpoint, as you can see. I will then go ahead to trim that part off. In the course of the tutorial, you will see that I later increased it from 2 inches to 5 inches. Okay, but for now this is just 2 inches, and I'm cutting it off now. Okay, I hope you can see me doing that. Alright, so I also went ahead to place my cutout side fabric. This is not the organza, you know, the other fabric that I will use to extend the organza. I placed it by the side just to make sure it is as bulky as I wanted it to be. And then this is me moving to the table. I measured the neck width 4 inches. Okay, and then the neck volume for the back, I used 2 inches. And then I went ahead to connect the neck volume to the neck width. I also measured the neck volume for the front. I used 13 inches. Then I will connect the neck volume from the top to the 13 inches of the neck volume at the back, at the front. I hope you understand. I'm connecting the neck width to the front neck volume. Okay, I didn't use a ruler because I wanted it to give me a shape of like a cylinder. You know when you have a circular neck volume but it is elongated, it goes down. That's the kind of shape I wanted it to have. As you can see the shape, I hope you see what I'm doing. Okay, so the neck volume for the front is 13 inches. I intentionally made it that deep. Then I went ahead to cut the neck width of both the front and the back. Having done that, I opened my organza fabric. Please guys, don't mind my table. This is as a result of my steam iron and my children keep pouring the water. Okay, so now with my organza still on fold, as you can see it, we now have a clear picture of the neck area. Alright, so now having done this, I will then cut out the neck volume of the front, which is obviously deeper than that of the back, as you can see me doing here. Okay, I carefully also adjusted it, alright, to make sure I have what I want. Okay, so this is me using my pressing iron on a lining because I want to use the lining as a pattern to cut out the facing for the neck area. Okay, so I folded the lining into two. As you can see, I'm trimming off the excesses. Then lifting the organza, now I place the lining under the organza. Of course, organza is a transparent fabric, so it's not difficult for me to actually see the lining. As you can see the way I placed it neatly. Then I'll use my pin to hold it down firmly, making sure that it is well placed. Here you wouldn't want to make any mistakes at all. Alright, because the facing is not supposed to have any joining at all. Even though this my facing had joining, because I was mising fabric. Okay, this is me now tracing out the neckline of the facing, and the facing, sorry. Okay, and then I went ahead to cut it out. Please, you have to be careful. Like I said, the facing does not have any joining at all, so it has to fit perfectly well. Okay, now having cut it out, I removed my pins. Then I would also go ahead to measure 3 inches as the width for the facing. So I took that 3 inches measurement round the facing, as you can see me do. I kept on marking it 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches. Okay, I'll then go ahead to connect the 3 inches I marked together. Okay, like I said, guys, you need to be very careful when doing this. Okay, I had to make sure that it is what I intended. Then I would go ahead to cut the 3 inches out. Like I said, this is a pattern for me. It will later form the lining for the facing I intend to use on this organza. So it's safe to say that I cut out my lining for the facing, then I used it to cut the main fabric. Alright. Okay, now for this outfit I used 3 inches to make both the inner, 3 yards to make both the inner and this drape. Okay, so the fabric was not enough, and this is me trying to do the necessary joining to make sure I get the circumference of the neck I'm working with. Again, guys, please ignore this multicolored tablecloth. Alright, so this is the side to the fabric I'm going to be adding at the side of the organza. Okay, and because it is stretchy, I had to use a paper gum as interlining to line it so that it doesn't extend beyond what I wanted. Okay, I hope you can see it. But if you're not working with a stretchy fabric, there is no point putting an interlining, just as I did. Okay, so I'm now going to explain how I cut this. I couldn't cut it because the length was too much. And guys, it's not supposed to have a cut, but because the length was too much, I had to put that cut. And also because what I worked with was just 3 yards of this fabric. So I'm going to use this lining here to explain how I cut the sides. Alright. So now, assuming this lining is the fabric I'm working with, this is a straight line, as you can see me. Okay, I'm looking at the fabric I already cut out. It has a slight curve looking at it. Okay, so the straight part will be the part that will be attached to the organza. Okay, while the curvy side will now fall down to the wrist, as I'm describing here. Okay, that's for the curvy part. It will fall down on the wrist, but the straight part is the one that will be attached to the organza fabric. Okay, my people, we move regardless. Now the upper part of the cutout fabric is 9 inches, as you can see there. Okay, that is for the top side. You know, normally I'm not supposed to cut it into pieces, but because the fabric was not enough, I had to do it this way so as to still get the desired result. Okay, so this part is 9 inches. Now on the lining that I'm using to show you how I cut it, I'll measure 9¼ inch. The quarter inch is the sewing allowance, just at one side. Okay, now the lower part of the fabric, not the organza, as you can see, is 4 inches. Okay, so then I will also measure 4 inches on the lining that I'm using to show you. Okay, so at one end you have 9 inches, at the other end you have 4, but I will measure 9¼ inch and then 4¼ inch. Then with a free hand I will join the two, that is the 9¼ and the 4¼ I didn't want to use ruler because I didn't want it to be slanted. I wanted it to be a little bit curvy. Okay, if you use ruler it will give you a slanted shape, but I wanted it to have a little bit of a curvy effect. Okay, so basically that's just what I did. Okay, so I also went ahead to cut an interlining using paper gum because, like I said earlier, the fabric is stretchy. All right, okay, so this is the ones I already cut out and line. Like I told you before, I already made the inner part of this outfit and I'm working with only 3 yards of this fabric, so you will understand why this one had to have a cut. Ordinarily at the shoulder it's not supposed to have a cut, it's supposed to be folded this way, and then you can see what I'm doing. You just measure the 9½ and 4¼ I hope you get that. It's supposed to have this shape now without a cut here, yeah. But because I am working with a limited amount of fabric, that's why that cut is there at the shoulder, which I'll still go ahead to join. What it means is that I have 4 pieces of this fabric cut out, 2 for each sides. I hope you guys understand this. 2 for each side, so that when I join them at the shoulder it will give you 1 piece at one side, 1 piece at the other side. I hope you see it. 2 similar pieces for one side, then 2 similar pieces again for the other side. Then for the lining, I went ahead to cut exactly what I explained with the fabric. The way I lined it, I only sewed the curvy side. The side that is straight that will be attached to the organza fabric, I did not sew it. I only sewed the lining together with the fabric at the side that had the curvy side. I hope you get that. Okay, so as I proceed, I'm going to be showing you how I did the lining last. Okay, alright guys, so for the facing, like I explained, it's in pieces. Actually it's not supposed to have any joining, but because I was working with limited fabric, it had this joining. But I will still go ahead to join them very well to make just one piece of a circle, okay, without joining. I hope you get that. So also I labeled the facing, the front and the back so that you don't get confused. I hope you can see it. This is me labeling the back and then the front. That way you are properly guided so that you don't use the back to attach at the front. Okay, now in lining the facing, I'm going to sew the wider part. Okay, turn it inside out and then close the inner part, because it is the inner part that I'm going to use to turn the facing. Okay, so here I have properly lined the facing. I hope you can see that. Next thing I did was to still bring out this lining to show you how I did it. You can see I already joined the two sides, the two pieces for one side together to give you just one piece. And you can see me showing where I lined the curvy part. I didn't line the straight parts that will be attached to the organza fabric. Okay, and when you do that, it's going to give you something like this. I hope you see this. Okay, so ahead we move. Now I had to spread the organza fabric on the table still with my pin intact. I hope you see that. I've not removed the pin I used to hold the neckline. It's still there to serve as a guide. Alright, so I went ahead to notch the center front and the center back. I also notched it on my facing, the center front and the center back. Okay, so that in joining, you can see I use my pin to hold it down. In joining, you make sure that the center, the notch on the organza aligns with the notch on the facing. That way you have a balanced work. Okay, so now of course you know organza doesn't have front or back. Okay, and since I've not attached the side, I just had to put any side I want. So I'll go ahead to sew the inner neckline now, notch it, flip it over, and then top stitch. Okay, so this is it. I have attached the facing, as you can see it. Okay, so the next thing I'll do will be now to just stitch on top of the facing to hold it down. Okay, so the next thing I will do will be to then attach this fabric to the side, the other fabric to the other side, and that will be all for the attachment. Then we will finish up the facing. Okay, so in attaching that, I had to fold my organza again from shoulder to floor length into two. Of course, you know my organza does not have any cuts at the shoulder. Okay, so I fold it into two from shoulder to floor length, as you can see me do. Okay, and then I went ahead to notch this shoulder part. Okay, this is just to tell me the exact shoulder. Okay, you can see me, I gave it that notch. It's supposed to give you balance so that you have equal proportion of fabric on the front and then at the back. Then picking up the pieces of my fabric, not the organza. Of course, the joining should tell you that is the midpoint. Okay, so I will just attach my fabric to my organza fabric, but this time instead of using my 1/4 of an inch to sew, this is an organza fabric, so that it doesn't pull out easily. I try to make it up to 1/2 an inch or even 3/4 of an inch. Okay, to use and sew it so that I'm sure that the organza is firmly held. So I will run it from this notch point downwards and then the notch point again downwards. I hope you get it. Okay, from the shoulder down, maybe front, and then shoulder down at the back. Okay, so now having attached that, this is what we have. Okay, I explained earlier that I removed 2 inches at the side when I was cutting. I hope you remember that. Now I had to check it and I discovered that that 2 inches was small, so I had to remove extra 3 inches here. Okay, from this lower part where I removed 2 inches. I hope I did not confuse you. I removed 3 inches more, making it 5 inches. So it is safe to say that you remove 5 inches. The essence is to remove pointedness at the two sides of your drape fabric. Okay, so now having done that, I went ahead and gave it a good press, as you can see me. Okay, my lovely people, having done that, you can see I have attached the facing neatly. I also put my rhinestone. I used 2 lines for it just to give it, a fine finishing. Okay, now remember that the neck width of the front is too low, is intentional. Now I'm going to fold my fabric again into 2. As you can see me do now, I folded my fabric into 2 equal parts, as you can see, and then with my tape I'm going to measure, not at the back though, at the front. Okay, we have no business with the back. At the front I'm going to measure 4 inches away from the midpoint. Okay, I hope you get that. This is me marking the midpoint. Okay, so I measured 4 inches, I hope you see it, from the midpoint, and then I marked. I hope you see that. Okay, I also marked at the other side. Okay, okay, so this is me using my pin to hold the place where I marked the 4 inches together. I hope you see that. I'm trying to use pin to hold it down. Okay, now you see it, but I made a slight mistake here. I'm not supposed to hold it at the wrong side, because now you know we now have a right side and a wrong side. That pin, I'm supposed to bring it forward, so when I realized it, I just quickly did the needful. Okay, you see it, I'm supposed to pin it at the front, judging by what I want to do at the neckline. Okay, you see me repeating the same process. I had to pin it at the front side now, or at the right side, yeah, because the facing already gave us the right side to the organza fabric and the wrong side to the fabric. Okay, so now having pinned it down, not down to floor length, just that facing, maybe say like 1.5 inches from that, from the neck. Okay, now the next thing I did was to fold the remaining part of that facing into 2 equal halves. I hope you see it. I flattened it so that I have the same proportion of fabric on each side. I hope you see what I'm doing. Okay, you take your time to do this so that you get your desired result. Okay, now having done that, I also use my pin also to hold it down. As you can see, one pin on one side, another one on the other side. Okay, I hope you guys are really following what I'm doing. So now, having done this, the next thing I will do will be to, you know, the initial pin I used at that 4 inches. Okay, I will go to my machine and stitch it together. Okay, not this one now, this very part. I'll go to my machine, stitch it together, say like 1.5 inches down. You don't need to get to where the stone is. That is if you want to put stone. So when you do that, you flatten it again and then stitch anyhow you want it to give you your desired result. If you want to stitch all through that flattened side, if you want to stitch everything on top of it, you are free to do that. The important thing is to make sure that that flattened surface remains flat. Now here I have done the stitching, as you can see. So I'm going to try it on my mannequin. Okay, I'm doing that already just to make sure I get exactly what I wanted. Okay, you know, most times when you finish and then the person wears it, it may not give you exactly, but with the help of mannequin, it gives you exactly what you want. Okay, so now placing it on this mannequin, it gave me a better idea of what I want to do. I placed my pin also to hold the two together, and I will also go ahead to stitch it up. Okay, where you have the pin on one side, I will also stitch at the other side. If the stone allows, you can stitch all the way down the other, apart from these two sides, the other down part that is open, you can as well go ahead and stitch it also. Okay, so when I'm done stitching, I'll just use my iron to flatten the rest of the front of the organza fabric. Okay, alright, so here now we are done with it, and I had to try it on together with the inner to see if I got the desired result. Okay, so I also have to explain the reason I removed that 5 inches, okay, by the side, is to eliminate, like I said before, any pointedness, so that when you wear it, it doesn't point at the two sides downwards, and then the center is a little bit raised up. Alright, also for those that will want to see the inner, okay, it's just a simple dress. Okay, it's dartless. I did not put any dart. Reason is because if you look by the side, you will see the space I made for rope. So I'm going to use rope to snatch the waist so that it will give the desired fitting. And then the stuff you see at the back is just for the slit. Okay.
I cannot wait for a special day today. I want to rock it. Oh, it's nice. Auntie knows my curves now. Yes. If I could. I don't know. But it's still okay.